Hi, I'm Yesika Salgado.
And I'm Angela Aguirre.
And together we're Chingona Fire.
Things to keep in mind when your heart is broken. 1. It's called a breakup because it is broken. 2. You cannot make him stay. 3. You shouldn't want to. Even if you could, the best parts of your relationship will forever be lost in his desire to exit anyway. 4. When he is ready to leave, help him pack. Hold the door wide open and let him go. Anything more than this will only prolong the inevitable. He is already gone. 5. You will miss him. Be kind to yourself when you do. It is normal to resort to autopilot. Normal for every street in the city to scream his name at you. Normal for every piece of furniture in your apartment to feel like marked territory. At night, everything you own will shapeshift into a reminder of his absence. 6. It is always easier to leave than it is to be left. Even if he is hurting too, his process will not be anything like yours. 7. Do not torture yourself. In the weeks following a breakup, listening to Adele is not therapy. It is self-inflicted torture. Cruel and unusual punishment at best. You have been warned. 8. No matter how carefully worded your Facebook status is, or how much fun you look like you are having on Instagram, he is not going to call you. 9. This is a good thing. 10. When the phone does ring, any voice on the other end that does not belong to him will seem foreign to you, irrelevant even. His will be the only one you want to hear, the only one that moves you. 11. Ignoring people who are calling, to spend time thinking about people who aren't, makes no sense. 12. Answer the phone. When your friends ask you how you are, answer honestly. There is no strength in pretending. It is okay not to be okay. 13. If your heart hurts, it still works. There is no shame in feeling. Hurting only makes you more human, and growth can only come from being honest with yourself. 14. No one can take from you what you haven't already given them willingly. You are allowed to take it all back if ever they begin to mistreat it. 15. There are so many things in this life that you will never fully comprehend. Love is only one of them. No matter how many tears or bottles of wine you invest, it is a waste of time to try and make sense of senseless things. 16. There is nothing time can't fix. Take comfort in this. 17. Forgiveness is a life skill. Just because he didn't love you the way you wanted doesn't mean he didn't love you with everything he had. Forgive him for not having enough. Forgive yourself for always offering too much. 18. What no one ever tells you about love is that it's not always enough. 19. When all is said and done, do not mistake yourself for anything pathetic. You are no one's victim. You are a work in progress. Wear this heartbreak the way you have all the others, a badge of honor. Proof that you will still be able to love with reckless abandon, even after you are left feeling reckless and abandoned. Your heart is a warrior. 20. This is a good thing.
I think one of the moments where I felt challenged and encouraged to keep doing my art in the way that I do it and as visible, like to be as visible as I am, was when at a poetry feature that I was having, someone introduced me, and he said that when he first met me, when he first saw me get on stage at the Poetry Lounge, just by looking at me, he checked out. Like, he stopped listening. He thought I was going to have nothing to offer to him. He didn't explain why, but as a fat Latina woman, I think sometimes people use image a lot to, like, just write someone off. And he said that the minute I started performing, he felt bad for thinking the way that he had, and that I opened his mind completely to what he had judged me to be. And I realized that early on that would affect me, but because it's been so long from when I first started to performing to now, and I've had a moderate amount of success, I forgot what that felt like. So it kind of like recalibrated my focus and reminded me that there are a lot of women that look like me that feel very invisible. And luckily, I am not in an invisible place anymore, and I'm giving them a voice and a face, and it's my job to continue doing what I'm doing.
I think for me, one of those moments was when I was in college. I walked into my professor's office to get a grad check, and it was a professor. It was an administrator I had never seen before, but I needed to get the grad check. I was like on a deadline, and so I asked this guy. I was like, "Oh, can you do my grad check?" And he he needs to take down information. So he's like, okay, what's your major? And I go rhetoric, with an emphasis in communications and social change. And he looked at me like funny, like he kind of looked at me like I took him aback for a second. He looked me up and down, and he's like, rhetoric? Like, I would have guessed fashion. And like when he said that, I didn't take it right away, but then he said, I just figured such a pretty girl would be more interested in more feminine things. And then that's when I kind of like had to stop myself, and I got pissed. And it upset me because I did walk in there wearing a crop top and like these like booty shorts, and I dress the way I dress. But the thing about me is that I'm very multidimensional, and I feel like it's important to be who I am in spaces where you're only expected to be one thing. And I can be an academic, and I can also be a party girl. And those two things can exist simultaneously, and they're not mutually exclusive. And when I have a poem called Boobs versus Brains, and I talk about that, and I talk about how femininity is not the absence of the capacity to critically think, that it's nothing more than a delusion conjured up by men who are threatened by our ability to balance the two. And it's important when I do my poems that I want girls to look at me and see that they don't have to choose. They don't have to be one thing or the other. They can be everything that they are and have that be okay.
And I think that's a big message of what we do. Like, we love to party, and our social media, like if you look at any of our platforms, they are so many pictures of us at a club somewhere. What did you say? We drink to feel better, to feel even better.
Yeah. We don't drink to feel better. We drink to feel even better.
And we like to show that that part of us, because we think, like, people a lot of times think that women can't be multiple things. You know, like, you can't be turning up at a club on a Friday night and then filming something significant, like right now, in this moment, which is exactly what we did this weekend. We turned up last night, like, so hard, and then here we are now talking about our activism and sharing poems with the world, and anyone can do that. And we like to show that poets can do that, because I think poets are expected to be these enlightened creatures that don't exist in the real world, but we do.
And you can be both.
Angie and I initially met in a poetry workshop that was being facilitated through the Poetry Lounge. I remember Angie walking in and looking fly and sitting down next to me. And I remember thinking, like, I want to be this girl's friend. And we ended up taking the workshop and being part of the Poetry Lounge community for, 7 years now?
7 years.
When you meet someone through the poetry community, it's kind of like you're taking a shortcut in friendship, because you get to see people perform like really personal pieces and like their narrative and confessional things. And I think Angie and I knew our stories before we even knew each other.
Oh, yeah.
So we were able to see, like, I can connect with these parts of her. There's these things that she's saying that resonate with me too. And so we started gravitating towards each other. Also, at the time, there was a group of friends that hung out, and we were all part of that social group. And I think we were just really excited to be around people that we related with and were passionate about our art like we were. And we would hang out until, like, the sun would come up, just talking about anything.
We would sit in car therapy sessions, all night long, just talking about everything and anything. And I think that's where our friendship really grew, was in those early years when we found solace in each other. And it was just like we didn't have a care in the world. We were younger then, so we it's like we could stay up till 4 a.m. and still wake up for work at 6. Like, we can't do that now, but we loved each other so much, and it was like such a great concentration of time and love and energy into one period of our lives. And that period of our lives is where I think that we bonded the most.